Hey guys, I'm Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist and nomadcapitalist.com and the author of the book Nomad Capitalist on Amazon. I'm here in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and it's really busy this week doing a lot of on-the-ground work and also doing a lot of research work with some colleagues who have been visiting me, doing a lot of research on new opportunities. And I wanted to talk about something that I've been following very closely today. That specifically is what's been happening in Turkey with the absolutely collapsing Turkish lira. I remember going to Turkey for my first time about 7 years ago, and the Turkish lira was worth more than 50 US cents, i.e. you got fewer than 2 lira for every one of your US dollars. Over the course of these last 7 years, the lira has now slid from about 1.7 all the way down to where we're at right now, about 6.7, I think was the low, 6.4, 6.5. Just a massive loss of value, and most of that in the last day, in the last week, in the last month, you've seen a dramatic decline. Two opportunities that I wanted to point your focus on. Number one is something that is at the heart of the nomad capitalist lifestyle, which is how do you get the best deals? I think that there will be now a perhaps relatively brief window when you can go to Istanbul and you can buy stuff relatively cheaply because the lira prices have not been updated. I've done this in the past where a currency declines, usually not as much as the lira has declined, but a currency declines and you go there and say, oh wow, MacBooks are cheaper, or Gucci loafers are cheaper, or Hermes blankets are cheaper, or whatever the case may be. And I was in Istanbul several weeks ago and was looking at some stuff and saying, wow, here's something that's $1,600 in the United States. With the currency declines that had already happened there, it was, I think, a little less than $1,000. And that's partially due to the fact that Turkey always, I think, had relatively lower prices on certain types of goods, especially luxury goods. They're really trying to get into the export sector. So the prices were low, and then the currency depreciation helped that even further. I think that for a very limited window, you're going to see those prices not be adjusted to what's happened with the lira in recent days, and you can get some really great deals. And so as I'm traveling around, if I want to buy a watch, if I want to buy something that's relatively expensive, I may look at the airport duty free. I may look at a store in a certain place, and I'm very honest with the people there saying, hey, I could buy this in Paris for 15% less, and I'm going to be there next week. Or I could buy this in Singapore for 20% less. I'll be there next month. And so I think that part of the nomad capitalist lifestyle is all about adjusting purchase behavior to be able to get the best deals. Whereas someone who might live in Paris is just going to pay that premium. There are opportunities if you're already traveling to get the best deal. But the second interesting opportunity that I've been really looking at with what's happening in Turkey is what are investments that can be made into the country and what are the arbitrage opportunities. These are the kind of opportunities that people like Doug Casey, Jim Rogers, and others have talked about. Buying when there's blood in the streets. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But I was reading a good book recently called Why Sell Tacos in Africa. It was written by a guy who founded a real estate agency that I've had some dealings with before. And he talked about all of his successes in buying in places that no one wanted to buy, starting business in places that people thought were left for dead, particularly in the post-Soviet economies in the 1990s. And he did very well with that. And the interesting question is, when is there blood in the streets? When are there going to be riots? When is the time to buy in so that you're not catching that proverbial falling knife? I was talking about this with an investor friend of mine the other night who's a really savvy guy. And he's saying, hey, I want to see the lira continue to go down and then show some signs of life before I'd want to get in. But when that happens, here's what I think may be the opportunity. What I look at that's different than what most investors look at is, how can I combine a couple things at once? So if someone comes to me and says, Andrew, I want your help and I want to develop a holistic plan, investments you make can help immigration opportunities. Immigration opportunities can help banking or tax. And all these things can work together. Right now, Turkey has a few immigration opportunities, whether it's residence, whether it's citizenship. And I've been working on analyzing these programs a lot in recent months because I think that there are going to be some good changes coming up in the near future. And the interesting thing is, the Turkish economy, it's a big domestic economy. There are a lot of positive demographics in the country, but it's one that's primarily denominated in lira. Some people, particularly foreigners, may go and may try and sell stuff such as real estate in dollars or euros or pounds as a source of convenience because they don't want lira. But the economy essentially follows the lira, unlike the economies perhaps of Georgia, where next door, or Armenia, where things are often inherently priced in US dollars. You've got a dollarized economy. Turkey does not operate that way. The foreign currencies are really more of a matter of convenience. And so what I see as an opportunity to acquire properties from foreign sellers at prices in dwindling FX values, people who just want to get out, they want to take their dollars, they want to go because they no longer have a need for the property, or people who are Turks who are looking to get out, many of whom already have, but people who just, they don't want to be there anymore, and they don't want to hold lira because they're going to another country, they're emigrating. And I see that as an opportunity to basically play the spread of, lira values in terms of appraisals and things like that not changing, but FX values going down. And so I think that there are going to be ways to qualify for some benefits in Turkey, or some certain programs in Turkey, and the actual investment level in the money that we have is going to be much lower than it was a day, a week, a month ago. And that may make it more interesting to invest in Turkish property or other Turkish assets. And so there may be opportunities to hire people in Turkey. I'm not saying this is only about Turkey. And I think that right now you're seeing a weakening of a number of currencies. What I'm saying in general is this provides opportunities to those of us who are mobile and who want to create a holistic international plan, not only to save money on sneakers, which potentially is a very interesting thing to do, but also to be able to come in and say, hey, this asset cost $500,000 a year ago. Now I can get all the same benefits that come with it, including maybe a passport for half that amount. And at that price, it's interesting to me. So when countries have these kind of issues, they naturally say, how do we bring in foreign investment? And I think that you're going to see more and more countries incentivizing investors to bring investment in at a lower level in exchange for other benefits, such as the ability to live there, tax benefits, some kind of internationalization and planning. And I've worked for 11 years to create a portfolio of these opportunities for myself. I've done a number of them, collected several passports in the process, other benefits, and I think that there's going to be a lot more opportunities for these things in places like Turkey coming up. Now, if you want to learn more about this stuff, definitely do two things. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, make sure you go to our website where we have a lot more advanced strategies. We have over 5 years of articles and insights that you can access at nomadcapitalist.com.